Alright, it's the sixth day. It's good today. Today I'm planning on doing like 2 hours and then going around to my parents and then coming back and then doing some more today. So holding that to myself. I'll be doing 2 videos today. I'll post them both tonight. We'll post one when I'm out and then I'll post the other one overnight. But anyway, I would need to get back to the Blender and stuff now when I want to get to fix the tutorial. So it was ranking art that was up before.
How
We did the roughness. We did the roughness. We did the bump. We did texture. And where are we?
in this tutorial,
Okay, 1 second. It's not loading. Playlists. Procedural snow and ice textures. Like I really appreciate Ryan doing these videos. Well, I need to next time I get a bit of extra money. I need to donate something. Video edit for blenders. Okay. Texture. He uploads like a tutorial almost every other day. Holy crap. I wonder if he would take a suggestion for like the basic texture at the start because I do find it hard to get started on that. It's probably stuff you should learn outside of Blender first, like art schools or something like that, or like art classes. But I said I just jump straight into Blender, so I kind of said it. Making making sushi is Blender. Where's the texture? I've lost the texture, and god damn it. Mushroom blender, glowing blender, pumpkin blender, fallen blender, the poly texture paint.
in this Blender tutorial, I will show you.
Yes. Okay. It was the gradients. Yeah, it was the one I was actually saved. I
In
was
this
really
quick
interested in because it's a part that I always get screwed up wrong. It's like the part. Can I even can I? Yeah, it's like this part here. Like, can I even should I? Yes, you can see it there. It's way too visible. I'm not like making the gradient well enough or like hiding it well enough, which is why like it doesn't feel good. I'm still surprised about the black line there. It doesn't look as bad as I thought it would. Uh, yeah, okay. So get this up now. Get the main. Close that one because it was stream there. Put it up here. Get it up here. Main monitor. Get the third. Get the browser. Make sure get the sound. Imagine not messing up for once in my life. Yeah, so
tip video, I will show you how to texture paint gradients in Blender. And if you'd like to learn how to set up Blender for texture painting, then I have a tutorial on how to set up
medium
Blender
ripping.
for texture painting. Link is in the description. So once you have your object set up for texture painting, you can go over to the texture painting tab or just click right here and go into the texture
I
painting
wonder if
mode.
he'll
Now to
cover the
set up your
blur.
brush so
Keep
that it will
screwing up for
paint a
me.
gradient, you're going to click right here on the fill tool. And then you're going to go right down here on the side panel, and instead of using a color, we want to click right here on gradient. And when you click on the gradient, it's going to give you a color ramp preview. And so
Wait,
you can just change
this
both of these
isn't what I
colors here
thought it
by
was.
clicking on the tab, clicking right here, and then you can make it whatever color you want, and then clicking over here on the other tab, clicking right here, and then you can make it a different color. And you can also click on the plus icon right there, and that's going to add a new tab, and then you can click on the color here and you can create a different color. And you can of course drag these around if you want them to be more contrasty. So now that we've set that up, you can click and drag where you want the gradient to start, and you can see that a line is going to appear. And then you can drag up to wherever you want the gradient to end and then let go. So wherever you start to drag, that's where the gradient is going to start, and then wherever you let go at the end here, at the end of that line, that's where the gradient is going to end. And then when you're finished texture painting, always make sure to go right over here to the image editor and then click right here on image and click on save as and save out your image to a file on your computer so you won't lose the data when you close Blender. So that is it. That is how you texture paint gradients.
Well, that was not exactly what I was expecting, but it does give me like an interesting idea. So if I was to go into texture paint mode, right, and I was go to my brush till where was the gradient? Okay, then on this one. Okay, so there's go to gradient. Shift X. It'll be that one first, and then this gradient would be this one. Pick this one, and then it would be this one, wouldn't it?
Different color. And you can also click on using a color. We want to click right here on gradient, and when you click on the gradient, it's going to give you a color ramp preview, and so you can just change both of these colors here by clicking on the tab,
Yeah,
clicking right here, and
still
then you can
didn't.
make it whatever color you want, and then clicking over here on the other tab, clicking right here, and then you can make it a different color. And you can also click on the plus icon right there, and that's going to add a new tab, and then you can click on the color here and you can create a different color, and you can of course drag these around if you want them to be more contrasty. So now that we've set that up, you can click and drag where you want the gradient to start, and you can see that a line is going to appear, and then you can drag up to wherever you want the gradient to end and then let go. So wherever
Is
you
that
start
only
to
on the
drag,
fill
that's
tool then?
texture painting mode. Now to set up your brush so that it will paint a gradient, you're going to click right here on the fill tool, and then you're going to go right down here on the
So it didn't have to click fill tool. Okay, so let me make it smaller again. You know, actually just hide this. So if I was click on this one, it's not. Okay, so it's just, okay. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. So I click this one again. I do this one. I do this one. I do this one. I click that one. Okay, and then I do this one. I do this one. I do this one. And I do that one. Oh, it's doing a gradient for the whole thing. So that's this side. So the gradient. Alt of I. Stop it. Okay, it says that. Why is it not? I'm just gonna go back to this one now. So yeah, I just realized I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Yeah, okay, so that's a bit better because I had had the sun on the side. I had the shadow. I was like, what the hell am I doing, man? Also, that light is a wee bit strong, isn't it? That's 25. What the frick is that one? Shouldn't shine directly down on you, sir. So if I was to now get here, and what would it look like? A bit better. Anyway, so that one was not what I was expecting, but still interesting. Stencil brush. I did the stencil brush with the AI, but there might be something that I haven't
In this tutorial, I will show you how to texture paint
understood.
images onto your objects using the stencil brush in Blender. So in this
Or
video,
like
I'll show
a
you how to
method
set up the stencil brush
to
so that you can
use it
see
that I
your
haven't thought of.
image above your object, and then you can paint over it and it'll place the texture onto your object. And then I'll also show you how to paint on other images like icons or things with a transparent background onto your images, kind of like if you were like putting a sticker onto the object. Now, just a few things to go over before we get started. If you'd like to help support me and this YouTube channel, then some great places to do that are over on my Gumroad store and my Patreon page, where you can get 3D models and assets. You can also get tutorial files and artwork project files, and my procedural materials and other Blender content on my Gumroad and Patreon. And if you'd like to support the channel here on YouTube, you can also check out the YouTube memberships. So if you click on that join button down there next to the subscribe button, if you join my memberships, then you'll be helping to support the channel monthly, and you'll also get some cool perks here on YouTube. And then the last thing before we get started, I want to give huge thanks to this video's sponsor, an amazing render farm service called Blender Grid. Blender Grid is an easy to use render farm specifically designed for Blender. I've used the service and I highly recommend it. Upload your Blender file or a zip file with the blend file and textures. You can change the render settings on the website before rendering.
Oh,
Blender Grid will let you know the cost before you start the render. You can even choose when you want the render to finish if you're on a tight deadline. While it renders, you can check the rendered frames to make sure everything is rendering properly. Once it finishes, just download the files and compile the frames in a video editor. Use the link in the description to get $20 of render credit on your first render. So definitely check out Blender Grid with the link in the description. It's an amazing render farm and I do highly recommend it. Now for demonstration in this
The render
tutorial,
farm
I'm
does
going to be
sound good,
texture
especially
painting
if
this
like
rock
you're
3D
doing
model
long
that I
projects
created.
with a crap
So the
PC,
first thing that you
but it
need
really
to do
comes
is
down to
UV
price.
unwrap your object, because if you don't UV unwrap your object, then Blender's not going to know how to place the texture on the object. So make sure you have the object selected, and then we're going to hop over to the UV editing tab right up here. So I'm just going to quickly UV unwrap this object. So make sure you are in edit mode of the object, and then I'm just going to press U, and then for an object like this, I'm just going to do the Smart UV Project, and then on the eye material, so I'm going to hop right over here to the shading tab. So when you hop over to the shading workspace, you should have the 3D viewport and then also the shader editor. And then I'm going to click on the new button to add a new material, and I can just rename this material rock. So the next step, the next thing we need to do is add in an image texture that we can texture paint on. So right here in the shader editor, I'm going to press Shift A, and then I will click on the search, and I'm going to search for an image texture. So let's click on the image texture, and I'm going to drop it down here. Now I want to be able to preview the image texture, so I'm going to take the color and put that onto the base color, and that way we'll be able to preview the image texture on this object. Now we haven't actually added an image texture yet, so I'm going to click on the new button here to create a new image. Actually paint on this if we want to, but it makes more sense to actually paint on the 3D object. So right here, I'm going to click and drag and just make this smaller. So now let's actually set up that stencil brush. So if you press the T key, the T key is going to bring up this side panel right here, and just make sure you are on the draw brush. Now if you click right up here, this is going to go to the active tool and workspace settings, and you can see that we actually have some brushes right here. So right now we just have the default brush, and so I actually want to create my own custom brush. So to do this, I just want to duplicate this brush with all of this data. So to duplicate it, you can click on that little file icon right there. It kind of looks like two pieces of paper. Just click on that, and that is going to duplicate that brush. So now you can see we have two of them, but I want to rename this one. So I'm just going to rename this one to Rock Stencil. All right, so now when we change the settings, it'll change the settings for our rock stencil brush. All right, so I'm gonna go right down here, and on the color, make sure this is fully set to white. Because
okay, that's something very basic, but I can't believe it's actually way over my head. He's duplicating so he can quickly get back the old settings instead of going back and forward and changing it all the fucking time. It's something really basic, but it just wasn't the first thing I thought of when I tried it myself. See, this is why you watch him, even though you think
it's not set to fully white, then when you actually paint your texture, it's going to be a little bit darker. So just make sure it is set all the way up to white. Now we need to add in a texture, so you can just click right here, and that's going to open up the texturing. And so right here we can add a texture to this brush. So I'm going to click on the new button right here, and that is going to add a texture. Now we haven't actually added in a texture, so I'm now going to be adding in the rock texture. So to add in the rock texture, I'm actually going to click right down here, and this is going to go to the texture properties. All right, now on the texture properties, you can see it says brush right here, and that is what I want because I want to add this texture to the brush. So right here we have the type, and you can see right now it's set to image or movie. You could change it to these like procedural textures within Blender, but I want to import the rock texture. So I'm going to leave this set to image or movie. So now right down here, I can click on open to open up the texture. And then you can just locate to wherever you've saved the texture. So I'm going to be using this rock texture right here, and this is a free texture from Ambient CG. So I'll have a link in the description if you'd like to check out the same texture that I'm using. So I'm just going to double click on it to open it up, and you can see there it is. Now if you start to paint, you can see it is adding the texture there. But I'm not really able to know what part of the texture I'm painting, and I also want to be able to change the size and rotation and things like that. So I'm going to click right back over here to the active tool and workspace settings. And if I scroll down, you can now see that the texture is right in there. So then right underneath this, here are the different settings that you can change. So what we want to change is we want to change the mapping. So right here, I'm just going to go over some of the main ones that you might use. So the first one is view plane. So I'm just going to change this to view plane. And then also if you want to change your brush size, you can press the F key. That's going to make your brush bigger. Or if you scroll right over here, you can also change the radius right here, and that is going to change the brush size. And then if you want to change the brush strength, so how strong it's going to paint, you can press Shift S and then drag your mouse and click, or you can also change the strength strength right here with this slider. So I can now just start to click and drag and paint, and you can see what that view plane is doing. So it's basically just taking the texture, and every time you move, it's going to stamp that texture on. Now you're not actually able to see it very well. That's because of all these reflections. So to get away these reflections, I can actually click right up here on this little arrow, and then I can go right down here and I can turn off the specular lighting. So if you want to, it's totally optional. I'm going to click on this to turn it off, and that way I can see my texture better. So you can see now if I just click and drag, it's basically just taking the same exact texture and it's just stamping it onto that object. Let's click back here on the mapping, and I'm going to go to tiled. So tiled is the default, and so if I start to paint this, you can see it's just tiling the texture, and because this texture is seamless and tileable, it's basically just going to continue to repeat the texture. So this is a pretty useful one, but this isn't the one I want to use. Let's click back over here on the mapping, and I also want to show you the random. So this is a pretty cool one. So if you change it to random, so now you can see if I start to paint, it's giving each texture a random rotation, and that does help to make it a bit more random. Let's go to the next one though. I'm going to click right here on mapping, and I'm going to change this to stencil, and this is the one I want to use. So now if you move your mouse over the 3D space, you can see that there is that texture right there.
Yeah.
And so what we can do is we can move this stencil over our object, and then we'll know exactly what's going to be painted on our object. So if you want to move the stencil image around, you can right click, and the right click on your mouse is going to move that around. And if you are using some sort of drawing tablet to do the texture painting, it's going to be the back pen button. So most pens will have a front pen button and a back pen button, and I just have my settings on the default, and so it's going to be the back pen button. So you can either just click with the back pen button if you're using a drawing tablet, or if you're using your mouse, you can just right click and that's going to move it around. Now, if you want to rotate this image, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to hold down the control key. So just hold down the control key and then right click and drag, and that is going to rotate the stencil. And if you're using a drawing tablet, you can hold down the control key and then you can click with the back pen button and drag, and that's going to rotate it. And if you want to scale it, it's going to be the same thing, but instead of control, it's going to be shift. So hold down the shift key and then right click and drag, and that is going to scale it up or down. And again, with your pen, you can hold down the shift key and then use the back pen button and click and then drag, and that's going to change the size of it. But then to rotate your 3D view, it's the same way that you would rotate it. So I'm just clicking with my middle mouse button to move around in the 3D space, or you can just click and drag with your front pen button. So just move to a spot where you want, and then you can just click, you can push down with your pen, or you can just click with your left mouse button. And you can see that wherever that texture is, it's going to stamp the texture onto the object. And then if you want to preview the texture, you can orbit around and then you can see what it looks like, or you can move your mouse out of the 3D space. And when you move your mouse out of the 3D space, then you're not going to be able to see the stencil, and you can just see what it looks like on the object. Alright, so I'm just going to quickly go around and texture paint this rock texture onto this rock. And I am just using my mouse. I'm just kind of clicking around to add this texture, but you could totally use a drawing tablet. I usually use a drawing tablet when I'm doing texture painting or sculpting. And if you don't have a drawing tablet and you'd like to purchase one, then I will have Amazon links in the video description to some drawing tablets that I recommend. And those are Amazon affiliate links. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. So if you purchase something through the links, then that will help me out, but with no extra cost to you. And there we have it. So I've just texture painted this rock texture onto the rock model. Now there is one more thing I want to show you in this video. I want to show you how to texture paint some sort of sticker or icon onto your object. So what I'm going to do is create a separate brush for that. So I'm going to scroll my mouse right up here, and that's going to go up to these brushes, and you can see here is the rock stencil and then just the normal brush, the basic brush. So I'm going to click on this icon right here, kind of the two pieces of paper, and that is going to duplicate the brush. So now it is a separate brush, but it still has the same data. And then I don't want it to be called rock stencil. I'm going to rename it to icon stencil. So now what we can do is we can just import a different texture. So I'm going to scroll right down here. You can see here's the texture. What I need to do is click right over here on the texture properties, and then what we need to do is just open up another image. So I'm going to click right here on this file icon to open in another image. And here is the image that I'm going to be adding. So this is a nuclear icon, and this is a free image from Pixabay. Link will be in the description if you'd like to download it. So I'm just going to double click on it to open it up. So now you can see that it's added in that icon there as has the stencil.
Just do it
So
all.
I can just go right back over here to the active tool and workspace settings. And also something really important about this image, I downloaded this icon from Pixabay, and so it actually has a transparent background. So it actually has an alpha channel. So where there isn't any of the icon, kind of right over here in the corner, it is actually an alpha channel. It is transparent. So when we paint, it's not going to paint anything where the alpha transparency is. So now I can change the size by holding down the shift key and right clicking and dragging, and I'm going to make that much smaller. And let's also zoom in, and then I'm also going to press F to change my brush size. Now you can just start to paint here, and that is really cool. You can see that it's added that, and where it is transparent, it just hasn't added anything. But the problem with this is that it kind of fades out on the sides, so I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo that. So to fix that problem of it kind of fading away on the corners, what you can do is you can scroll right over here, and then you can open up the fall off settings right here. So on the fall off settings, right now it is set to custom. It just has this default one here, but instead I'm going to change it to this one here, the constant. So now that it is set to constant, if I press F to change my brush size, now I can just click once, and it is going to add it in with 100% of the strength. So it's going to use all the strength, and it's just going to add that in. So now I can just go around here, and I can basically
Actually, if I was going to change it to like a
so
sharp fall off,
but
if you just want the whole image on, you might as well just do that one.
Now there is one more really important thing. Before you close Blender, you need to make sure that you save the actual image, because if you don't save the image, then Blender's not going to store it, and so you're going to lose that data, and so you would need to retexture paint it. So before you close Blender, make sure you save the image. So to save the image, you can just click and drag.
Auto saves though,
and this right over here, this is the
I
image
just
editor.
do like it
So then to
because
save
obviously
this
you're not
image
gonna
that you
always save
painted,
an
you
image.
can click on image right here, and then you can click on save as. And then I can just call this rock color, and just to make the
Even though you
size a bit
can
smaller,
undo and
on the
resave
file
it,
format right
it's
here, I'm just going to change this to a
better saved than
JPEG,
sorry.
and then I can click on save as image. So now that image texture that you painted has been saved to an external file on your computer. So I can now just hop back over here to the shading workspace, and you can see there it is. So there is the texture, and there is the rock color.
Yeah, also if the auto save, if it crashes, then that means you can't undo, and what you did would be saved, and you just screwed. Yeah, okay, definitely better to just keep it the way it is.
Into the principled VSDF. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and I hope the tutorial was helpful. And if you'd like to learn more about texture painting in Blender,
this one's kind of
in
long.
this tutorial I will show you how to create these stylized hand-painted pumpkin right there. Let's do the same thing for the bottom. So navigate right over here. Be more of a yellow color, and then it'll be kind of orange in the middle. So I'm first going to click right here and make this really small just so that we have more space, and then I'm also going to click right over here to go to the fill tool. We don't want to use the brush here, we want to use the fill tool when doing the gradient. And then I can also press the T button to close that side panel. And also let me make sure I turn on my screencast keys so you can see what buttons I'm pressing right down there in the corner, but I'm not actually using a mouse, I am using my tablet pen. So now that we are using the fill tool, we need to set up the gradient. So I'm going to open up this side panel here to make it a bit bigger, and I'm over here on the active tool and workspace settings. And I'm just going to go right down here to the brush settings, and there is a color picker, and I'm going to change this to gradient. So now I need to change the colors of the gradient. So I'm going to click on the black tab and click right here. And I'm going to make this a bright color, and then I'm going to make it kind of a reddish orangey color. So something like that. And then I'm going to click right here on the white tab and click on the color. And this one I'm going to make kind of a light yellow color, but it is going to be a little bit orange. Alright, so because we set this to the fill tool, and because we changed the color picker here from color to gradient, I can now click and drag, and that is going to add a line here, and then when I let go, it's going to actually make the gradient. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo that. But you can see what is happening. So I think I actually might click right here, click on this color, and make it like a little bit less red, maybe just slightly more orange. So when you click down, that's going to start the line, and that's where the gradient is going to start, and then I'm going to bring it up here, and wherever the line ends, that's where the gradient will finish. So I do want the gradient to be pretty subtle, so it's not super sharp. I don't want it to be really small like that. I want to make it really long, so I'm going to have it go all the way up and then just drop it right about there. And I'm doing this on side view so that the gradient starts down here and it goes all the way up. So that is looking very cool, and that makes it look a lot more stylized. So that is really it for the gradient. So I'm now going to press the T button to bring up the settings here. here and add just a final little highlight on the top there on some of these
Oh, highlight.
ridges.
Hold on,
And
hold
then
on, hold on,
just
hold
a
on. That's the
little
parts that I also, but I can see highlights on lips and eyes and stuff like that, and I suck at
texture
that.
painted image before you close Blender. All right, so I'm going to make this a bit smaller, just drag that smaller, and let's do the next part. So I want to make these little parts here a bit lighter. So I'm going to press the F key to make my brush a bit bigger, and then I'm going to click here on the color, and I'm going to make it fully white, and then I'm going to make this a yellow color and a little bit more towards the white. So I can now just kind of go along here, and you can see the strength is turned way down, so it's still pretty light. And I'm just going to go along here, and I'm just going to make this a bit brighter. We're kind of adding in highlights, and I might even want to make this a bit more white and maybe turn the strength up a little bit more so I can see that better. So we're just going around there and kind of lightening up the top there. It almost is going to be kind of like some fake lighting or like a highlight on the top of the stylized pumpkin. All right, so just going along all these and adding in that little bit of a lighter color there. It's a very light yellow. Just go along there and zoom in here, kind of paint along there and there as well. And then I might just make this like almost fully white and just go along here and add just a final little highlight on the top there on some of these ridges and add just a little bit lighter of a color. All right, on the very tips there. And then also I think I want to try blurring this just a little bit. So now that I've finished that, I'm going to press the T key again to open up the side panel, and I'm going to click here on the smear. And I'm just going to go over here and I will just kind of smear this just a little bit. Now, something that I don't like about the smear brush in Blender is that it can be kind of laggy. So I don't actually use it too much. That's definitely something that Blender could be improved on, because you can kind of see the smear brush is kind of laggy. Let me just turn the strength down a little bit. So I'm going to drag the strength down so that the blur isn't quite as strong, and you can just kind of go along here. I think that the blur brush could really use some improvements in Blender because it is kind of laggy. But I am going to use it just to kind of blur a few things, so kind of blurring the
But the blur brush is right above it. I know what he means, because I find the smear seem to be better blurring stuff than actual freaking blur brush itself.
those colors there, maybe even blurring these edges a little bit. If anything is a bit too sharp, you can kind of go down here and kind of blur that a bit. All right, so I'm now going to be adding in some little streaks along the pumpkin going down. So I'm going to click right back here to go to the draw brush. Now I actually want to add a little bit of jitter to this brush. So I'm going to click with my front pen button and drag this over, and then I can go right here to the stroke settings. And I'm going to go here to the spacing, and I'm going to turn this up quite a bit. Let's just start with maybe 150.
Okay, so
On the layout. So we are now going to set up some lighting, and then we'll finish up the materials and render out a final image. So first let's set up the lighting. So I'm going to be adding in an HDRI. So let's click right over here to go to the world properties, and then you can go right here to the surface and click on the yellow dot next to color, and you can choose environment texture. And then I can click on open to open up the HDRI. So here's the Forest Cave 1K HDRI that I'm going to be using. Again, link is in the description if you'd like to download the same HDRI. So I'm just going to click on it and then click on open image. And then I am going to be using the Eevee rendering engine in this tutorial, but you could totally use Cycles if you want to. Cycles and Eevee actually look pretty similar with this result. The render is very similar, so you could totally use Cycles if you want to, but I'm going to change the render engine over here to Blender Eevee. And then to make Eevee look a little bit nicer, I'm going to turn on the screen space reflections and also the bloom here and also the ambient occlusion. And then I'm going to hold down the Z button and move my mouse up here to go into the rendered view. And there we go. So you can see the HDRI in the background, and it's giving us some nice natural lighting up our pumpkin. And then also let's click right down here on the color management, and I'm going to use the view transform of Filmic, and I'm going to use a look here of very high contrast. And this is going to make things more contrasty and saturated, and it'll look nicer.
Okay, so that's something I haven't really messed around with. Color contrast. Okay, and then I go to color management. What is my color management? That's here. So look at this monitor way here. So you can see. So my color management, I've got it set as GD view transformation. What is?
press Control S
something
again to save the
I didn't
Blender
even mess
file.
around with.
So I now want to add a camera, and then I just want to point the camera right here. So I'm going to press Shift A, and let's go right down here and click on camera, and then you can navigate to where you want the camera to be, and you can press Control Alt Numpad 0. That is going to bring the camera to where you.
Yeah.
Are. And then I want this camera to be a square image, so you can click right here to go to the output properties and just change the resolution X and Y to the same values. So I'm going to be rendering a large 2K image just because I want this to be very high quality. So I'm going to use a resolution
Not
of
much left
2.5.
on that video. Hmm. Yeah, there's not much left of that video. I think I might just try some stuff myself with this. Maybe try and do some, maybe on the eyes, maybe behind the ears, stuff like that. I don't know. Yes. Yeah, I think I'll just start that now. I'll get this going.
Borrowed this body. Names are merely clothes.
Let's take that
Have you
someone.
perhaps lost yours?
A man in a coat with a monocled eye steps through time like a curious sigh. Borrowed your breath, borrowed your name. Is it theft or is it the game? Call me no god, I wear no crown, yet kingdoms fall when I blink and frown. Behind your thoughts, beneath your skin, I was always there, smiling within. He drinks your fear with vintage grace, 1,000 selves behind one face. Every mirror shows him still, yet none can bind the trickster's will.
I'm just
Taking a walk in the fog. Call me no saint, no devil's kin. I change my coat, I change your sin. You speak my name, and it undoes you. Tell me, dear vessel, which part is you? Knowledge is infection, identity is decay. So come uncloak, let's see who you are. Without
Okay, so quick second. Texture. Paint masks. Who's this? Oh, it's Grant. Okay, it was Grant Abbott. Okay. I probably already did this one before.
So here's a quick tip for painting just one area of your object or
Yeah, well, actually,
isolating
yeah,
an
I've looked
area
at
for
this before. I
painting.
forgot.
I'm in the texture painting workspace and I'm in texture painting mode. But if I go across to edit mode and then maybe into wireframe and choose a section, probably easiest on face mode this. So I've got a group of faces there, back to texture paint mode and back to material preview, which you can also find up here. Now if I press this special button here, which is paint mask, you can see that area only is highlighted. And I can easily come in and completely destroy the work I've done already. But you can see it's not going onto this object down here. If I tick this button again, you can see it's not had any influence on that area there. Okay, so hopefully that tip's helpful to you.
Yep. They're straight to the point. No problem. Done. Okay.
He steals no gold, no sword, no fate, only the truth that desecrate. Kneel if you must to gods on high, but Amon's touch is your final lie. Cloaked in charm with truth to sell, he buys your soul with a little spell. A blink, a grin, a borrowed breath. Call me Aemon, your name is death. I am whoever you fear I am. No king, no creed, just fog and chance. A fool once danced the dreamer's dance. A coin he flipped, a prayer he faked, and thus the bronze table awaked. No walls, no light, just breathing flame. He built a club, denied a name. No dues to pay, no gods to bribe, just secrets shared and fates inscribed. One rule obey, one seat don't sway. Speak not your truth, don't look away.
They cheer when you bleed, then call you brave. Build you a throne, then dig your grave. Smile while you break to hold the line. But the moment you slip, you're left behind. They love a hero just to watch him fall. They write your name on a crumbling wall. You save the world, they forget your face. You scream for help, and they erase. So fuck the crown and fuck the light. I'm done with being what's morally right. If they want a monster, I'll play the part. 'Cause I'd burn the world to protect your heart.
I didn't have.
I'd rather be the villain, wear the black, laugh while the world stabs me in the back. Heroes save all and die alone, but I'll break every bone for my own. I don't need praise, don't need their cheers. I'll walk through fire, I'll feed on fear. This world don't deserve a man who bends, so I'll be the end that never pretends. They preach about peace while holding knives, telling us who's wrong, who gets to survive. They kill us soul to save the day, but I choose you anyway. Your tears mean more than 1,000 lives, so let the innocence run and hide. Call me evil, call me cruel, but loving you breaks every rule. So fuck the halo, I'll wear the horns. Love like ours was made in storms. You don't need a savior dressed in white. You need someone who'll stand and fight. I'd rather be the villain, take the blame, carve your name in fire and flame. Let the world scream, let kingdoms fall. As long as I know I gave you all, no medals here, no second chance, just blood-stained fists and a final stance. But I'd tell heaven, burn the sky, if that's what it takes to see you alive. Let them paint me in shadow and sin, just means I finally let the real in. I wasn't made to be adored, I was made to be feared and yours. I'd rather be the villain and be the curse than let them treat your life as worse. I'll be the chaos, the final call. If loving you means I lose it all, let the world judge, let angels cry. I won't repent, I won't comply. So crown me mad, make me the sin, but just know I do it all again.
Hold on, is that?
Another life, I wouldn't wear a crown of white.
Is it because I've got the mask on? Is that it? Is that why it's happening?
I never try to make things right. No more silence, no more fear. I'd be the storm they never clear. They call me kind, they call me weak, but never heard the words I speak. So if I fall, I won't return. I'll let the pretty bridges burn. If I had another life, I'd be the villain in the dark. No more mercy, no more mark. I'd wear
It is.
scars just like a blade and smile while the world's afraid. If I had a second breath, I'd left beneath the weight of death. Let them
Alright,
curse
play
me,
that again.
let them scream. I'd still rise and chase the dream. I'd steal the stars, I'd bend the rules. No more playing by their schools. I'd wear the crown they tried to hide and walk with fire at my side. They shaped my soul with chains and shame, then wondered why I left the game. So next time round, I won't play nice. My heart will beat with coldest ice. If I had another life, I'd be the villain in the dark. No more mercy, no more mark. I'd wear the scars just like a blade and smile while the world's afraid. If I had a second breath, I'd laugh beneath the weight of death. Let them curse me, let them scream. I'd still rise and chase the dream. Heroes fade and stories lie. The villains live and never die. I'd be the name they fear to speak.
Now it works. Yes, okay. So yeah, it's like both. Yes, like both. Okay.
If I had another life, I walk the path they set before. Sing my rage into a song. I build my throne from shattered trust and turn their gold to ash and dust. If I had a second start, I'd lead with fire, not with heart. Let them curse me, let them cry. I still rise and never die.
I get the blur now. I'll the blur tail.
In the candlelit glow we meet, where mystery and fate compete. A silent throne, a shadowless guide. Behind the mist, the fool resides. I am the fool that doesn't belong to this
with masks of gods they cannot tame. Bow to the fool where secrets weave, a deck of cards, a fate conceived, with whispers, dreams, and deals unknown. The tarot sings the fool's own throne. He conjures riddles, smiles that sting, a blade hidden beneath the spring. No one can grasp fate, but I shall bargain with it. Beneath the moon he spins the trick. She sits in silence, wisdom's grace, guarding truths that time won't erase. Everything is destined, yet I choose what fate shall reveal. A veil of dreams, a cosmic seal, bound by ideals and sacrifice, hanging between death and life. I would rather gamble my life if it means the stars will answer. A martyr's hope beyond the night. A pale hand guides a final breath, but life returns through endless death. We only die when fate allows it. Until then we fight. Cycles turn as shadows bite. The clock strikes 12, a bell tolls near. The fool's hand shuffles, fate unclear. Stars twinkle above, the abyss below. A world reborn through chaos flow. When shadows rise and gods return, remember the club, their lessons learned. I am the embodiment of mystery, hidden yet everywhere. The fool watches as fate burns.
What the hell's that?
When my eyes wake, skies start to break, storms overtake, clocks cease to shake, homeless forsake, true I'll create, burns to remake, craft dictates the fate I've made. Where echoes rave when stars can't say, can reap in the wave. Void expanse, the world I see, crimson floods, the moon's decree. Light ripples through time's debris, reads my story. Where the hands that write my story, where the chains that lock my glory, where the lines that I can now pray, who can see me? Where the flames that come in fury, where the keys that carve truth from me, into the dark to dream and scream my name. Wonder who this man
gentle sound. Laughter in the air, such a simple tune. Smiles and grace, like a familiar
No, I don't like
place.
it.
But this fragile piece has a precious
I might not like it. It's
light.
not done yet, maybe.
This time the cost is paid in tears unseen. Can I survive this lonely road? A stranger now, on paths unknown. For the home I lost, I fight the tide against the flow, longing for the place I used to know. Home, home, home.
The clown brought the flower before Melissa and Benson. The flower was golden in color and symbolized happiness.
When the mask slips on like chains holding me, blood it whispers, a price so high beneath the merciless empty starless sky. Forced on forsaken roads ahead. Could it be this time the costs paid, walls beyond repair? Can I survive when all is changed? A stranger now, on paths unknown. For the home I lost, I fight the tide against the flow, longing for the place I used to know. Home, home, no way back home.
We gather here, the cards align. In shadows deep, our fates entwine. A fool among us, pure and true. In his eyes, the world's anew.
A god of fate, a soul unknown. In every step, the seeds are sown. His hand extends, the path revealed. A truth that time can never yield.
Praise be to the fool whose light will shine. In the darkest corners his fate aligns. A dance of fate, of God's command. The fool shall guide with unseen hand. We bow, we kneel, we honor his name. For in his grace we find our aim.
Oh, fuck, I scared the shit out of me. 1 second, phone call.
The tarot speaks, the cards unfold. A tale of mystery, bright and bold. A fool we praise, a king we serve. In every twist his path preserves.
With every word, his power grows. In silent steps, the world he knows. His mind a maze of secrets kept. In his gaze, the future swept.
Praise be to the fool whose light will shine. In the darkest corners his fate aligns. A dance of fate, of God's command.
Yeah, that was Fire Sesame. When am I coming roaring? You don't be roaring on Fridays. I only show up around 6, 7, 75 now, so bit weird, but yeah.
Shadows deep in
whispers pure, the fools embrace the soul's allure. With every step he leads us near to places bright, to worlds unclear.
Through time and fate, through light and dark, he leaves his mark, a sacred spark. The fool, the guide, the soul divine. In his hands, the stars align. We follow him with hearts laid bare, a life of grace, a world to share. The tarot speaks, we hear his call. The fool shall rise above us all. Praise be to the fool whose light will shine.
You see, like, I want to, like, make the shake standard more. How the fuck do you do shadows for the shakes standard work?
God's command, the fool shall guide with unseen hand. We bow, we kneel, we honor his name, for in his grace we find our aim. And when the stars no longer gleam, the fool will lead us through the dream. In silence we will walk his way, in his embrace we'll find our stay.
I did too much. Yeah, that's what it is. I did too much. There shouldn't be that much cheek done.
In silence deep, he hides his face. A mask of stars, no time, no place. Through tarot's gaze and marionette strings, he watches gods and forgotten kings. The fool, they whisper, lost yet wise, with dreams that pierce the veiled skies. Everyone is me, he softly sighs, truth bound in webs of fate and lies. Yet in his shadow walks a thief of names, a brother split by mirrored flames, where one constructs, the other bends, a tale where trust and trickery blend. He steals your name, your voice, your skin. Where truth ends, his games begin. A monocle bright, a liar's glow. He bends the rules that none should know. The error smiles, reality shakes. The path he walks is all that breaks. I am everyone, the thief declares. In every soul he plants his snares. But past the trick lies something more, a silence humming at the door. The mimic laughs yet dreads that gaze of one who walks through time's own haze. He stands beyond the storm of time, a name erased, a myth in rhyme. Between the still lives on, a God reborn where minds are gone. One regrets his hollow throne, a crown of lies now left alone. One was lost by sleight and scheme, a door devoured within a dream. Yet from the cracks their truths align, a soul reborn from flawed design. Threats, distortions, paths obscure, all converge to form the pure. Three names lost to the world below, three truths no God would dare to know. They are the breach, the spark, the flame, and none who follow leave the same. Everyone, everyone, everywhere, reflections dancing through thin air. Three names lost to the world below, three truths no God would dare to know. They are the breach, the spark, the flame, and none who follow leave the same. Everyone, everyone, everywhere, reflections dancing through thin air.
Why is there no?
Painted laughter, sharp
Oh.
disguise. Truth is hidden in my eyes. Whisper, circle, shadows spin. All begins where you fall in. I dance on secrets never told. Trade your trust for chains of gold. Every smile's a sharpened knife. I rewrite the script of life. Do you hear the bells that ring? They don't blast, they only sting. Every step a crooked rhyme. You're already out of time. The painted mask will only smile. I laugh beneath a bleeding sky. Promise sweet but deal untrue. The
The
joke's
fuck am I
on
listening
me.
to? What the hell is that? I don't even. Random song that wasn't part of the playlist. Shut up.
A room beneath the rising sun, where cards are played but never won. Eyes of fate meet a silent gaze, secrets shared in the fool's embrace. A silver bell, a distant chime, the scent of fate entwined with time. Whispers echo where shadows lie, a circle drawn beneath the sky. In the fool's domain we dance, threads of fate and phantom hands. Destiny spins with every card, the stars align but never hard. We rise, we fall beneath his grace. Tears him a twisted space. The magician speaks in veiled tones, lies wrapped in silk that cut like stones. High priestess dreams beyond the veil, her silent watch keeps secrets pale. The hangman dangles without fear, bound in faith yet drawing near. Death reborn, a cycle true, while lovers part beneath the moon. In
twisted space. Your fate awaits, yet who draws first? The fool or death's eternal thirst? In the fool's domain we dance, threads of fate and phantom hands. Destiny spins with every card. The stars align, but never hard. We rise, we fall beneath his grace. Terror's him, a twisted space. The battle's once
It's actually my mom's birthday next week, and I've already got a custom card set up again, and a big 30K cake. That'd be nice. Trying to like just strokes here are also like I'm trying to get like roundish almost to go around with, so you can see the cheeks being round, obviously. Like, yeah, it does look much better. Nah, it was like, oh, it looks like crap. Looks like crap. Looks like crap. Still, kind of, but I still kind of like the third line. Still need to like blur it more. Still want it to, like, it's weird because I want it to be there so it like it defines the chick a wee bit so you can actually see the chick, and then but I don't want it to be so noticeable that you can instantly tell it's standing out because of that. You know what I mean? It's just like a black spot on a white piece of paper. It's drawing your eye to it, but standing out too much. I might actually end up a wee bit earlier than I wanted to because of the phone call, but just means I'll get back sooner. Do the next part. Okay, I want to see if I want to see with the Monagalon. I love Monagalon.
shakes the ground.
It's very small, very small. Anyway.
Through the mist of fate, I tread unseen, a whisper in shadows, a man caught between a world of secrets, a veil so thin, eyes wide open. Where does it begin?
this? He's telling me what's happening here. He's saying what now?
Visions unclear. Chains of the past, the weight of fear. The stars above speak riddles I hear. A voice in the dark, the path of the seer. I see the
Right, yeah, okay, I'm gonna head off now. I'll see you again next time. Only an hour. Oh, I thought it was more than that. Yeah, I'll hopefully that one today. Saying hopefully now. But we'll see.